The radio crackled, a thin thread of sound barely reaching through the storm of static. Somewhere in the dark, a voice broke through, urgent, strained, desperate. "We're pinned. We're losing comms. We're not sure we can make it out." The SEAL team had vanished behind enemy lines, and the world had suddenly become a place where every second counted. The base was silent, but the silence was not calm. It was the kind of silence that hides a scream. In a room filled with screens and wires, a young analyst named Ava sat alone, staring at the static like it was a puzzle she was determined to solve. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you were watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Ava was not a soldier. She didn't wear a uniform, and she didn't carry a rifle. But she carried something else, an ability to listen, to hear what others missed, to see patterns where others saw noise. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, fingers trembling. She had been trained for this, but training never prepared her for the moment when the people she was trying to save were real, not just names on a screen. She remembered the day she joined the team, the way the men had looked at her, not with hatred, but with doubt. They had called her a desk job, a tech girl. They didn't know her. They didn't know what it cost her to be here, far from home, trying to prove she belonged. The base commander had given the order, "Locate the SEAL team." They were out there somewhere in hostile territory, and every minute meant lives. Ava leaned closer to the monitor. The static was a wall, but she knew walls had cracks. She adjusted the frequency. She shifted the signal. She listened. And then she heard it. A faint pattern beneath the noise, a rhythm, like someone tapping a code. It wasn't just random interference. It was deliberate. She sat back, heart pounding. The tapping continued, a slow and steady beat. A man's voice, barely audible, whispering coordinates through the static. Ava's breath caught as she realized what she was hearing. It wasn't a normal call sign. It was a message, a location, a lifeline. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. She had to be sure. If she was wrong, she could lead the rescue team into a trap. If she was right, she could save them. Her mind raced. She remembered her father, a veteran, telling her once, "Sometimes the difference between life and death is not strength, it's attention." Ava's attention was all she had. She began decoding the signal, isolating the rhythm. The room seemed to shrink around her, the hum of the computers, the faint smell of coffee, the distant footsteps of officers who didn't know what she was doing. Time moved like molasses. Ava's eyes burned. Her throat went dry, but she didn't stop. She could feel the weight of the SEALs on her shoulders, even though she had never met them. She could feel the fear in their voices, the exhaustion, the pain. She could feel the way their hope was fraying, thread by thread. She could feel the responsibility of the rescue team waiting on her. She finally decoded the coordinates. Her hands shook as she typed them into the system. The screen lit up with a map, a pinpoint in enemy territory. She called the commander. "Sir," she said, voice steady despite the fear. "I've found them." The commander stared at her, disbelief flashing across his face. "How?" Ava swallowed, through the static. He stared at the map, then at her, and the room went quiet. The men who had doubted her earlier suddenly looked at her differently, not because she had proved them wrong, but because she had saved their brothers. The rescue team assembled, moving with the speed and precision of a trained tide. The base erupted into action, vehicles rolling, radios buzzing, soldiers moving like a single organism. The air filled with the sound of engines and the scent of dust and fuel. Ava watched them leave, feeling a strange mix of pride and fear. She had done her part, but the rest was out of her hands. The hours crawled by. Then, a message. "We're alive. We're heading to extraction." Ava's chest tightened. Tears threatened to spill, but she blinked them back. She wasn't a hero. She was just a girl behind a screen. But in that moment, she realized heroes were not only those who fought with guns. Heroes were also those who fought with their minds. The base erupted in quiet celebration, not loud cheers, not wild applause, just a deep, collective exhale. The commander approached Ava, his voice softer than before. "You did it," he said. Ava nodded, eyes still fixed on the screen. "They found me through the static," she murmured, and her voice shook. "I found them back." The moral weight of the moment settled in her chest. She had been doubted, dismissed, and underestimated. But she had done what mattered most. She saved lives. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. As the SEAL team returned to base, the air seemed lighter, as if the static itself had finally cleared. Ava stood alone for a moment, listening to the quiet hum of the room, remembering the first crack of sound that led her to them. And she understood that sometimes the loudest courage is the courage to listen.